And we're on a hot mic.
Check, check, 1, 2.
Do you need some more snare in your headphones?
Just a little bit.
A little more snare on your headphones. All right, guys. Welcome to this one time. Today, my guest is a very driven individual, entrepreneurial. That's a word, right? Entrepreneurial. One of those two.
I never get it right.
Individual behind lots of things. Past what t-shirt companies, audio-visual company is what we're what you're really into right now. You did a lot of sound. I'm one of the main sound guys in the Valley, I would say. And what was the other one? Touring too. I mean, you obviously were going around with a lot of bands. So not just in the Valley, but you got picked up. Somebody recognized your skills. But my guest today is Brian Trujillo. He is the owner of TNPAV.
Co-owner. Gotta give Ryan some credit.
Of course, Ryan. And you guys are primarily an audiovisual company?
Yes, that is correct.
Hey, so tell me a little bit about what you guys do.
All right. Well, first I'd like to say thank you for the kind words. Yeah, it's just crazy to hear someone say those things because you don't really think about them, in that perspective, I guess,
Yeah.
But, we just do what we do. But with AV, I feel like I do the same thing I did from when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I plug cables into a mixer and plug them into speakers and put on an event. But with AV right now, we specialize in corporate. With our company specifically, with some of the partners we've made, we're in the self-development live event space.
Okay.
But we do many different demographics in corporate AV, but we go into hotels and we set up events, lighting, audio, and video. It does end up being a little more than that. We do have scenic. You and I were talking about live streaming earlier.
Yeah.
But the three basics are, audio, video, and lighting. So we go out, we set up these events for these clients, and it's kind of cool because compared to rock and roll, because there is more of a visual aspect than us working in the bar. We do set up drape and the scenic and the video screens, and it does really look cool. So we do have the opportunity of doing a full production, but we're not at like a huge outdoor festival or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we set up these events, and we in a way run the show too. The clients do have part of their staff to help queuing on who's coming next and whatnot.
Yeah. But
we still are a part of that script and that flow and become a part of the event other than just setting it up.
Okay, nice, man. So moved more to the corporate side of it right now. You were saying opposed to the rock show. I mean, I would say a rock show or just a concert in general is still pretty visual as far as the lights go and setting all that up. But yeah, now that you guys have dipped your toe into the scenic and the backdrops and a lot of it is based around, you were saying leadership or
yeah, so some of our clients are in personal development.
That's
yeah. And yeah, I mean, I never want to take away from the rock and roll, but just in my past, I do end up working at a lot of the clubs around town. So, we have park hands that have been there since the 80s, as opposed to these people who have a budget to do an event for a weekend. It does get expensive if people that have to buy their equipment, but these guys, it's a little bit less of a, I don't know what you would say, but
you're taking a load off of their plate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So they hire some professionals just to make the event, kind of be elevated. You got the lights, you got obviously music in between or motivational music, and then you got the scenic imagery. So yeah, it's taking that load off of them who are really just there to kind of spread their message and their words, and to also have to take care of all the audiovisual side of everything. That's a lot to ask for at that level of what they're doing. Like what's a typical size of an event that you guys do?
Probably around a few hundred people. I mean, they can 200 to maybe 500 to 1,000. I mean, we've been a part of bigger events, but right now our typical size for our clientele is about that. We still actually, as a part of side note of being entrepreneurial, I guess. We still actually are private contractors, and we still work for many other companies.
Okay.
As we concentrate more on our stuff, actually, we start working for less and less people.
Yeah.
But it's actually allowed us to hone in on a few clients that we like working for.
Yeah.
And give them quality attention. But we're still out there working for other companies, and we're a part of all sizes of events.
Yeah.
But our typical one for one of our shows is around 200 to 400.
200 to 400. And it's people that are excited to be there too, because it's a personal development event, and so like you get people that are amped up to be there.
Well, when you talk about the music being energy driven before, I mean, when we first got into corporate, we were doing medical conventions and stuff like that. So it's a little bit drier.
Yeah.
They do like, they have the general session before they break out into their small meetings, and they still have what they call flash and trash, lights flashing around and make it look, pretty cool, and try to make something like a medical conference exciting, a
dramatic music when the new product is revealed.
But with the self-development, the music is a big part of it in those intros, and people are getting pumped up, dancing. It's crazy. They especially, well, I'm not going to drop any names actually, but yeah, sometimes the ceiling is shaking with these people dancing before the event starts, and it helps because they sit there for a long time. So dancing is a big part of it all. We'll take breaks in the middle of the show, and they'll do a dance. All right, drop that song, sound guy, and I'll have to just really quick hit a cue, and a song goes on, and everyone's dancing for 1 minute, and then we're back into talking about stuff.
Back into it. So you guys also handle what the like the interviews as well. So not only are you guys doing like the sound, but do you guys do like interview sound bites?
So every client is different, but we do occasionally.
Yeah.
A lot of the clients we have actually have a lot of their in-house staff. So, a lot of them are in real estate or personal development or marketing, I should say. Yeah. And so when you're in marketing and real estate, you need to be making videos a lot. A lot of these people are doing, YouTube videos and all that stuff. So they'll have a core filming and editing team. Yeah. But we do also provide that to some of our clients that don't have that. But it does make, with our partnership, when we teamed up with another company, it did bring that angle of what we could provide to another level. And we actually have a really good team for doing B-roll and camera and filming and editing. Okay. Actually, the guy next door put 2 and 2 together that we worked with AV and asked if we could film he does like woodworking. Yeah. And he actually wanted Tyler to go over there and take some photos for his site. So Tyler went over there and did some stuff for him. But yeah, we do interview type work and that. A lot of times at the bare bones so for our events, we'll do like a 4-camera shoot. We'll have a ultra wide cam to capture the whole room from like a bird's eye view. Then a wide cam at the back of the room, and then we have 2 manned cameras. Okay. And at the end of it, the client decides whether they can edit it or we want to, and we do have an editing studio. Okay. Where we will bring clients in to make videos if they want. Yeah. And so it is an interesting side of things that we kind of consider it a separate side of the AV business, because once the event is over, it's kind of a whole nother can of worms to kind of concentrate about. So most of the time we do basic edits for them. We have their name and information at the bottom and stuff like that, and they'll do most of the editing, but it's up to them on the level of our involvement with that. And the reason I go into depth about that is because with the self-development clientele, it is an angle that it is a demographic where they do a lot of that. So it is kind of interesting, I think, that they hone in on doing a lot of that. I think it's kind of cool, but we still work with them to help bring it to the next level for their events.
Yeah, well, I would imagine as you're developing, for lack of a better word, you take on a lot of hats to make something happen. So I can imagine that they already are familiar. Like you said, they already do their own promotion, YouTube, Instagram video, like all of that. So as they get bigger and your concentration goes elsewhere, then you can kind of start outsourcing that to another company. And I really feel like a lot of people would kind of like lump in the event side. So you guys doing the event, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, you guys are going to edit that, right? And it's like, well, hold up, that's a completely another job in itself.
And sometimes that happens. Lines have to be drawn or whatever, obviously we're flexible and easy to work with, but yeah, these are a lot of times one of the biggest things about doing an event, especially with a new client, is knowing the key things to ask them, just so those situations, like you're saying, don't pop up.
Yeah, and with that experience of you coming across those where you had to draw the line, like in the past, and it kind of maybe bit you in the ass, but now you kind of know what to look out for and how to approach it. So it's definitely learning, right?
Yep.
So how long have you guys been active in the audiovisual realm?
So I mean, like I said, in high school I messed with music, so I was messing with audio, small mixers, speakers, drum machines, samplers, guitars, keyboards, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then and then graduated high school, went into college, and I went to MCC for audio engineering. And around that time, I was doing a mobile DJ job. Uh-huh. And it happened to be one of the bigger companies in the state of Arizona. He had contracts with all the high school reunions.
Oh, nice.
So okay. Yeah, so we had some pretty cool gigs, but I kind of feel I still like to give credit to that time of my life, because knowing all that did make college easier. But anyways, and when I went to MCC, I didn't just concentrate on audio. I did a bunch of other stuff, but I took audio there, and then started interning at a few different places, one of them being Hollywood Alley.
Hey, classic.
And one of the guys was there, and he said he always wanted to give one of Steve's students a shot in the corporate world or whatever. Uh-huh. So I went in for a job. So I guess that was 2006.
Okay.
So graduated high school 2002. 4 years of college of learning way too many different things and coming out with just the AA in audio engineering. And so 2006 I graduated, and around then 2007 or so after interning at the Alley for a while, I went to work for a local corporate AV company. Uh-huh. And so that was kind of my beginning, I guess. At first I was just a driver, but I didn't like being a driver. And so I made sure to work hard enough to get a different position within 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And nice. I actually applied for a job to work at a big resort. That's the guy who had offered me the job position, worked there, and he was, hey, come work with us. So I went and applied, and the guy who hired me was like, oh, no, you got to be a driver. You got to start out as a driver. Earn
your keep.
And I was like, all right, whatever. So I did that. Didn't really like it. Although as a driver, it freed you up for the evening, so you would have the ability to tech events and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
But you would be working like 2 different shifts, so they did work a lot. I don't know if that was really the lifestyle I was going for, but out of college, hungry to get that experience.
Yeah.
But in 2 weeks, most people, when they get back from doing a delivery, they go smoke out on the patio, smoking cigarettes, wait for the next one. Mm-hmm. I walked around the warehouse and, what can you do? What can I help? What can I help? Is there anything you need? And they're like, well, it's not really part of your job description, right? I'm like, well, everyone's out sitting there smoking cigarettes. I don't smoke cigarettes, I'd rather become useful. I didn't just go through schooling to come here and deliver stuff only, like I'm here I've always heard stories of friends who went to the conservatory, and they would tell them stories of how people who made it, they scrubbed the ovens at a studio, And I was like, so what do you want me to do, dude? I'll sweep the shop. You know, I'm here to do something.
Yeah.
And so they said 2 weeks later, like, hey, you know, there's a job position in quality control. There's no pay raise. And I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And it was cool because I actually got to every single piece of gear that was rented out had to go through me to get put back on the shelf.
Nice. So you had hands-on with everything there, man.
Yeah. And, you know, I didn't get the full experience because I wasn't setting everything up in the event space. But by the time I went to go work in that event space, I did have a lot more knowledge of things than I could have had if I hadn't, you know.
Yeah.
But it was interesting, you know, had all the projectors coming through me and all that stuff. So,
well, yeah, you had to at least get your eyes and hands on it and get familiar. So when it did kind of come across your lap, your table again, or your lap, when you got to the point where you were kind of like the main, not the main guys, but you were there setting it up.
I knew how to repair it.
Which is I would say even better than if you didn't. So say you got hired on and we're just like setting it up. But now going through breaking something apart, trying to figure out what's wrong with it and fixing it, you have that another level of knowledge, and knowledge is power. So you were able to like use that to another degree. So say you came across some issue at an event with that piece, that was awesome for you to have that under your belt. You could probably fix it right on the spot, or know that you're wasting your time trying to fix it and find another solution.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it's cool now with as we build up our inventory, I look at all those little things, you know, like, oh, we got to buy this in case we ever got to repair the screen. You know, we don't even own any video screens, but I'm like, we should still own. It's only $20 for the repair kit.
Yeah, just in case, man.
Yeah.
You're in that spot. You're almost like a prepper.
Yeah.
You do any prepping?
Like survival prepping? I wish. My house is too small for that. Yeah, one of these days.
Yeah,
I aspire to.
Yeah,
like the guy from Tremors.
What, Kevin Bacon or the other?
The gun.
Yeah, what was his name?
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he had his basement and his little survival space.
Came in handy there, man.
Yeah. But yeah. So that's kind of 2006. I kind of got into that quality control position for about a year.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't me though. So, and I was willing to stick with it, but I wanted to hold a balance to do, cause I was still young. I still had all these visions of grandeur.
Yes.
And, but they just wanted my whole schedule, you know? Mm-hmm. So eventually I left and I started a graffiti hip hop lifestyle store.
Nice. What was it called?
Down by Law.
Down by Law.
Yeah, it was on Dobson and Guadalupe.
Okay.
In the southwest corner. But yeah, so I ended up working at Club Red, Hollywood Alley, and Joe's Grotto, running sound. Yeah. And that kind of really paved the way as a sound engineer for me. But so then I opened up that shop for a while, and so I say the economy crashed around 2008.
Yep.
So that was in the middle of me doing the store. So probably got in that warehouse position in 2006, opened the shop around 2007, and then ended up probably closing it around 2009 or so.
Okay. That must have fucking just took the rug right out of you.
Well, you know, that was a really cool time though, you know, because I was doing in stores with traveling musicians, and like even when we did our grand opening, we had a fashion show, we had artists, we had bands and DJs set up on the curb playing. There were stores in the plaza that did giveaways and stuff, you know. Nice. And then we tried to do that monthly, and we would have weekly like freestyle sessions, and try to work with other local businesses to promote on flyers and stuff. And it was just a real cool time being that involved with the community, you know. Super cool, man. I didn't know you had that was something in your resume. Yeah, that was. Yeah, we worked with you know, because I ran sound for Blunt Club. Yep. And I would set up a merch booth there. Yeah, that's where I met you through Guy Owens. Yeah. Him and Supervisor. Yep, Matt. Or you started because Guy would play on shows with that band you were working with, right?
Yeah, we met through that, because that's when I got involved with like the whole music scene out here. Was I started working at a music store in '09, and then my roommate, the guy we met through a friend, moved in, and he was like, "Hey, I want to start rapping," and I'm like, "Well, I play bass. I'm not fucking great, but I was like, I can play bass." He's like, "Yeah, my coworker's a guitar player," and he was recording with a guy named Chad Turner, who had gone to the conservatory, I believe, and he had a studio out on Elliott and the 10, and so I would hit him, go to the recording sessions there, and then I started actually playing shows, and then that's once you, I tell people, I was like, they're like, who do I need to talk to, who do I want to do it, like who do I got to reach out to get involved and get connections, and to me, it's like, dude, you put yourself out there, you play 3 or 4 shows, you're going to know who you need to know by the 3rd show. Yeah,
that's what I always tell people too. Just got to go.
You just got to go, be out there. Yeah. And then you start mingling. You don't, you have to kind of have the balls to go up and introduce yourself to people, but you start making the right connects, and the introductions get made for you.
And these people are going out in public because they want to talk to people and connect. Or else they would be at home.
Yeah, exactly.
So they, young, all different ages, but you always have that fresh group, younger people that are getting out of high school, and they're tired of being a part of those. Like for me, I remember I went back to a high school party and there was a stabbing.
Oh shit.
And I was like, see, this is why I haven't hung out with these people in a long time. I've been going out to blunt club parties.
Yeah.
Everything's good, even when they used to do house parties back in the day. And not to associate that with blunt club, but some of the attendees of that event, would have some pretty cool parties with DJs and performers and stuff like that. Part of that culture or whatever. But anyways, so I was just like, these people, we go out to the scene and do these events at these local clubs because we all want to have a good time and do art. We try to, as best we can, leave that ignorance out. Stuff's gonna happen, but so I forgot how we got off on that tangent, but anyways, it's all about just going out and meeting people, because that's why we're there. We all want to start something new, and it's awesome. I've made a lot of good friends. Down by Law, the only reason it came about was probably because of just all those friends I made, and it just made sense to me to make a headquarters for people to come together. And there's been a lot of hip hop shops before me and after, But at the time, in the area, there was nothing, so.
That's dope, man. Just taking it upon yourself to make something happen.
Yeah, and it was weird when that ended, though, because since the economy crashed, the clubs got hit hard, I mean, Club Red used to be 2 venues with a full kitchen, open at 10 a.m., and then it turned into 1 venue, only open on the weekends, with no kitchen, bottles only, 1 engineer, and a bunch of interns.
Yeah.
So my position kind of got nixed right away. I was doing sound between Joe's Grotto, Club Red, and I mean Stray Cat was in there too. I mean,
Stray Cat, missed that spot, man.
I was doing sound like 6 nights a week, I think. And I was like, all right, doing sound, doing the shop. And then all of a sudden the economy crashed. The shop was gone. All of a sudden the alley, they didn't want to start doing shows anymore on certain nights if they didn't think the bands were going to bring a crowd, because they wouldn't be able to afford me.
Yeah, you got the headroom.
So, I just said, screw it, man. Just book them, and what we make, we make.
Yeah.
So sometimes I make $30, pulling in $60 in a weekend.
Shit.
Just wasn't cutting it, you know. So that kind of marks like the first phase of how that's kind of like pre where we are now, pre like heavy corporate, but it was like the first phase of my life where I got into the industry with sound and
Yeah.
and all these different facets, and then went into filing medical claims for Access Health Insurance for a little while, and just kind of put everything at an end, just
Yeah.
trying to survive, you know.
Well, yeah, you had to do what you had to do to
Yeah.
fucking make ends meet.
Yeah.
You know, especially, well, you didn't have necessarily a family at that point, but still, like you said, you had visions of grandeur, and you got to kind of maintain that somehow, because while you love doing sound, $60 in one weekend wasn't kind of,
Yeah. I mean, most importantly, I love living on my own, or
being your
not
own.
at home.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I lived at my mom's for a long time, and I was an only child with a single parent, and so I was lucky enough to live there while I went through college and was able to concentrate on my education and stuff.
Yeah.
But I still like to be on. I don't like to put that burden on them, even though they may not see it as a burden. I still like to. As now that I'm older, I don't want to put that on them, So
Yeah.
You got to go to work. You gotta live in a house with 5 people, and you got to make it work.
Yeah, I remember that. Remember that, dude? Having a jam session at yours and Matt's house, and it's like, hey, all these other people, we're about to bring another 8 people up in here and instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times, man. Those are some great times. For me, obviously, I was fresh. I was young, man. I mean, back when I started, I had just turned 21, so I really did not get out. Didn't go to like many clubs, bars, or concerts in general, man. I liked music, but I was fucking broke, broke college kid, and trying to go to school, and yeah, I didn't. So once I dove in, I went I went pretty deep, and getting together with like the What the Funk guys, Sauce and I just fucking blanked on it, Wally, yeah, and all them, and they were just quick to like, dude, you want to go up and jam, and I'm playing bass all of a sudden with DJ Marvel, he's
cool.
spinning, and Sauce is on drums, and I'm just like, yo, I went from playing in my bedroom to now I'm like on stage here at Stray Cat. So Stray Cat
nice.
holds
I didn't even know
fond
that.
memory.
I probably seen you up there playing. I didn't even know you at the time.
Yeah, oh for sure. Yeah, I would just go up there for like a good hour and a half. I was gonna say only an hour or two, but that's a long time to jam actually.
Yeah.
And then Lakai and the other cat used to go up there and just freestyle, dude, and they could freestyle for days, man. It's good times, man. Yeah, Stray Cat definitely holds fond memories for me.
Yes, man. Crazy memories.
The shit that went down there, man. It was good times.
Well, free drinks for an hour for $5 is.
Remember that?
Oh,
and then they cracked down, and then they're like, "Hey, we got to charge $0.25." And some people were like upset. Like, it's like, dude, it's $0.25.
Yeah.
And then what was the other? I remember one time I invited my buddies out, and they're like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Dude, Stray Cat, dude, $5 drinks." And it's like, but now it's $0.25. And they're like, okay. And they come over, and I'm there pre-gaming. They're like, you're pre-gaming $0.25 now? I was like, why not, dude?
Well, in all fairness, it seemed like the cheaper the price to get the drinks, the cheaper the liquor they were using.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And lots of ice and small cups. Yeah. But still, it's $0.25.
I woke up. Never mind.
We'll skip that one.
Yeah.
So when did you actually found? When was TNPAV found as a company, and how did that come about? Like, I guess you met up with Ryan.
Well, no. Well, a little bit, yes and no. So, like I said, there was that first chapter of my life there, and then I had a buddy who I had gotten into the corporate world a while back, and he had since been. Or no, he was still working here in Arizona, but so he was hip to these labor pools. Okay. So companies that specialized in hiring people that specialized in audio, video, or lighting to go set up these events. So basically, when I was in that corporate QC position, the people that were using that equipment that I had to check it, I now had an opportunity to be on that other side. So, but it is a lot of, you got to have an in, if you will. And so I was at the time actually just selling windshield repair over the phone. And I'd gotten the
A dream job to some.
Yeah, I'd
Okay.
gotten the job from my buddy's girlfriend, and I hate to say it, he had died in a motorcycle accident that year.
Oh, damn.
On Thanksgiving.
What?
So it did make it a little harder to work in this job that I didn't really like, around these people that reminded me of the situation, and it was Thanksgiving, so it was kind of like, I just need some time off,
Yeah.
So, but my buddy had gotten me hip to this labor pool, so I called and left a message, and he said, just tell them you know this person.
Yeah.
I did not know the person at all, but
Oh,
he was his friend. So I left the message, and he's like, but don't quit your job because it's the off season. They got no work right now. And I was like, all right. I tried to stick with my job, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going back.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I told you not to quit your job. And I was like, I don't know, dude, it's Thanksgiving. Like, whatever. I'm going to chill out right now. But, the time came around. I can't remember when I called back. Maybe it'd been around January. And I was getting no phone calls back. So I was like, screw it. I think maybe I didn't name drop the first time.
Yeah.
So then I called back and I name dropped that person's name that I didn't know. And then she called that person, and that person called my friend. And it was just like this big telephone game going around. And I'm like, oh my God, they're checking out their sources. I hope everyone stays cool, And then they hired me. Yeah. And that really began the next chapter, where that was my foot into I was a private contractor in corporate AV.
Okay.
But I still like to be in the scene, so I ended up still joining forces with Supervisor in his camp.
Yeah.
And he at the time was in a full band.
Mm-hmm.
And we would travel around, and that's kind of a whole nother story. But to keep the explanation short, working with them for a while, I missed Down by Law, so I wanted to work on something new. Mm-hmm. And so that was a Native American band, and we worked with with communities. So we would go to the different reservations, and we would work with the kids. We would work with people in jail.
Yeah.
We would work at the schools, all sorts of community stuff, which was really interesting. I found it really cool. But so we found ourselves providing sound support for different little events, like when they did when they did the unveiling for the change to Piestewa Peak. I can't remember if that was the exact event, but we were at Piestewa Peak providing PA for them to speak at a podium mic. And I was like, well, I'm doing this for these other companies. I could definitely help you guys do that, no problem, And so I was kind of doing both at the same time, rock and roll and corporate. But I want to say, fast forward, after Supervisor and I are no longer in that band, we're working with Mike Delatorre from Dr. Delicious still.
Yeah. And
he came up with the name Top Notch Productions because we wanted to keep pushing things, because he would still go to different little businesses like Super Rock Hot Joint. Mike would provide PA for him every once in a while.
Yeah.
But, and every once in a while we would have more little corporate things. He would work with bands. We would make connections where bands would play at weddings and they needed to up it a little bit, Yeah. So we needed a name, and Mike D, having his old school roots, he loves Beastie Boys and old school hip hop, and he would always hear Top Notch in those old school rap songs. So he's like, how about Top Notch, man? And I've always been about like, man, just think of a name. So many people get held up on executing because they get held up on a name.
Yeah.
I had my buddy who was an awesome artist. My first, sorry to rewind a bit, when I was working at Hollywood Alley, I was throwing concerts too. A few a year, and I would do them with Fred Green always, and then I would mix in people like Warsaw and the Chocolate Fountain, that shirt I gave you, DL and PC, and a bunch of other Grime and Page the Village Idiot, a bunch of stuff. But anyways, that kind of, oh, I forgot why I rewound for a second there. I'm sorry.
You're talking about Top Notch and the Beastie Boys song.
So back then I needed a name, right? I was like, I don't want to just throw a concert and people not know who threw this because I want to do it again. And my buddy was an awesome artist. And I'm like, I need you to draw me a logo. You draw things all day that are amazing. And he's like, well, I can't think of this and that. And finally he drew a clock with some wings on it. And I just took it. And I was like, Passing Time Productions. And that was my production company for a while there.
Yeah.
And I was like, done,
Move on.
Yeah. So I was telling Mike D that, and he's like, how about Top Notch Productions? And I was like, done, let's do it.
Let's roll. Then next.
So, that's when we ran with that for a while. And so that was kind of the beginning of Top Notch Productions, though. But it was actually Top Notch Tees.
Top Notch Tees. Oh,
we were printing T-shirts.
That's what your boy Bob was saying earlier. And that's what I love to hear, because people will just look at your Instagram feed or what you're doing now and be like, well, you guys have just always been an audio-visual company and you guys have always been doing well. But it's like, no, you started off as a T-shirt company. Yeah, and to an extent.
And Ryan actually pointed out, he found a couple of my old Instagrams are on there that still show the history of us setting up merch booths at all the different events and stuff like that.
Nice.
And doing the T-shirt stuff. But yeah, so we were doing T-shirts. So, the T-shirts all came as a byproduct from the hip-hop shop.
Yes.
We needed shirts, and they were expensive to get made. I love supporting my friends who would make them, but when I was just throwing concerts, it was fine to go get them made from somewhere. So the concerts were pre-shop, and then the shop came about, and there were other businesses in the plaza, and we're just like, man, we just need to get a printer off the internet. I think it was like $400 or maybe less, and we're like, we just need to do it ourselves, and we can play with all sorts of ideas and stuff, So I own this equipment. After the shop closed down, I was in the band. We were printing our own T-shirts with the band. We left the band, and we were still in the scene. So Mike D was out there basically printing shirts for all his friends and bands.
Yeah.
So that was our clientele for a while. And so we did push the T-shirt thing for a while. Yeah. Now, Mike D actually has a history of printing T-shirts, and he kept that hidden for a while. So Matt Viza and I printed most of the shirts in our history in a band together, and one night he let it slip and it was all over. He's done all our shirts since. But he worked for a skateboard company printing shirts, and he worked for a legit company. We were all self-taught, Yeah. So anyways, we pushed for a while, the three of us. Matt would do design work. Mike would basically find the clients, and he ended up doing most of the work printing them too. Eventually we outsourced the facility to make it a lot easier. Yeah. But in the end, it honestly was a lot of work. It wasn't worth it unless people were buying a large amount. So a couple times it did make it worth it, though. We provided PA for an event, and they needed T-shirts. We provided their shirts too. Nice. But something you brought up earlier about when people don't care anymore at work. Yeah. And with the T-shirts, it was just kind of, I didn't want to do it, and Mike would be like, I'm in here, I'm starting to do all these jobs by myself. Yeah. And it's like, well, I think we should just kind of phase out of this. I'll still help in ways I can, but it's just not, I want to get back to, and him too, he's a musician. He wants to be, but at the same time, we like working. I've always had a problem holding jobs or whatever. And I told this to Ross at Hollywood Alley one time. I was like, man, Ross, I've never held a job for a year. And then I've been working at Hollywood Alley now for, who knows how many years, you know what I mean? You'd have to really pushed me away from me never to work here again. Yeah. I'd have to mess with that. But anyways, it was just interesting. We've always liked to work for ourselves. So we hung on to the T-shirts as long as possible. Yeah. But it's a lot of work, and you do need a certain degree of a level of equipment that was a little more advanced than what we were using. Gotcha. So we eventually phased out of that, and was still doing small PA stuff. And I was getting more into the corporate, and I honestly I had so many ventures in my past now that I was kind of done with it. And I was like, I'm doing fine just being a tech, working for these labor pools. If I balance my life correctly, I could probably have something sustainable here. I'm always investing in all these stupid ideas I have of businesses that it was, no matter what job I had, it's unsustainable, So I was like, it's time to just concentrate, on home or whatever. Yeah. So it was slowly phasing out and getting more into working corporate in these companies. But as a private contractor, sometimes, well, first of all, you're your own company. So there's no company ladder.
Gotcha.
So you got to make your own.
Yeah.
And some do, but there's a couple different ways to go about it. One of the ways is to specialize in a certain field and get to tech that position on show site, as opposed to setting it up or striking it. But then again, you have to choose what you like. Like, I can be the head audio engineer, but you're interfacing with the client in a different degree. You're having to hit cues. So it's kind of like a play also. And if these cues don't hit right, and they've invested all this money in this big medical conference, it's $1 million or whatever.
Yeah, huge.
One time, actually, I didn't have the mute button on the channel, and the video engineer wanted to check his video. And it was a big surprise. No one was supposed to know. We couldn't even play it in rehearsal that a helicopter was going to be played as a sound cue. No one had to know about it. And it was like one of the ladies from like Channel 12 News or something, and she was on stage speaking all fancy, and she's in the middle of her speech, and there goes the helicopter sound. Because learning curve. But,
So what happened though? What happened?
I actually didn't get yelled at too bad for that one.
That's how I got my second asshole.
I think Ryan may have been my boss on that show, actually.
Yeah, but I have to ask him.
Luckily, no one made a huge deal about it. People were disappointed.
Yeah.
But I wasn't kicked off. So, but there is a lot of responsibility in that role. But every field, audio, video, or lighting, has a few positions available on a show job for you to do. So I actually prefer kind of being the audio assistant, which I still have lots of responsibility. I have to mic everybody up, and if the mic isn't correct, I'm the first one people are yelling at.
Yeah.
And I have to interface with the client. I got to be professional as I'm micing them up. And pseudo stage manager at times, pushing them off, bringing them on, all that stuff. But anyways, I forgot why I got off on that tangent. So anyways, Ryan was working for some other companies, and I was trying to team up with him. I have all these pots cooking, I'm working with Mike D, doing t-shirts, doing small PAs. Hey Ryan, whispering words in everyone's ears. We can do this. Hey you guys, let's stop working for people. Let's do our own thing, Yeah. But he was pretty heavily in. One of the reasons why he's such a good asset to what we're doing is he always had a high position with his companies. So he was doing all this. Kind of the sales, building the show, executing. He would build the show, interface with the client, make sure what they want, and then he would show up and be there to set it up and conduct all of us to set it up for him.
Nice.
And so, he can't really go around cheating too much because he had so much invested, and he actually would get a percentage of sales towards the end of his career with these companies.
Yeah.
But we were always like, when you're done there, we're going to, because we were starting to work together before we had these positions, and we went our separate ways, but we would still work together. They would need companies to source labor from. So he recommended us, and we would provide the labor for these companies he would work for.
Okay.
And that's how we paid for our website. So we still, would work together in ways. And then eventually, once he stepped away from there, I helped him find some clients in corporate AV. Some other people helped him find clients. And it's like, hey, let's take this to the next level. I'm doing this stuff over here, but it doesn't seem worth it. I'm tired of running around with my car full of speakers. It's just I'm borrowing my mom's car all the time since I was in high school. And now I'm in a small car and she's the only car that can fit it, or just different stages of my life. Always find myself borrowing my mom's car to pull off these gigs.
Thank you, Mom. Mama Trujillo.
But so I was like, we need to try and do something to bring this to the next level. Because I'm just spinning wheels here. And so we don't know what that meant. And I've had that conversation with a few different people, and we've walked down this path together, and still goes nowhere. But for us, we signed both of our names on a LLC. So we still don't have any clients, but that has to mean something,
Yeah.
So, but that kind of marked the next stage, and I would call it, I guess, stage 3. But I still kept Top Notch Productions. We did spend some branding on it. I paid for the website. I wasn't just going to throw it away again, I would if I had to.
Yeah.
We actually had another name that I liked a lot, but again, I just spent so much energy putting into the Top Notch name.
Yeah.
And so we kept it, and we created a DBA, so it's still Top Notch Tees LLC, but DBA Top Notch Productions.
Gotcha. Okay.
When Ryan and I joined forces, we wanted to make the name a little more presentable legally. And so that kind of marked the beginning, and he found a client, and I've always wanted to be like a consultancy, wanted to help people run their companies for them.
Okay.
Even when I worked with Visa's band, I was just a sound guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the end of it, I was helping manage. I was doing raps and backup lyrics from the sound booth. Like, our manager came up to talk to us, and I'm like, hold on. And I had to do my rap part from the sound booth while I'm running sound and all the backups. And he's trying to talk to me, and I'm printing the T-shirts and all that stuff, So it was just always all over the place. But I always wanted that next level of involvement, because I always like to come in and assess what's going wrong and what can we do better, and is it obtainable to do better? Like, like you said, now that I know how to fix that screen, I know if I'm wasting my time trying to fix something. And I like to come into like a business, and I always had the idea of like, man, if, CEOs get paid to do like that. When CEOs retire, they get paid to come in and do that at businesses. So who am I? I'm just some kid who lived at his mom that went to MCC, So, but I would have my little taste of it, helping manage the clandestine band and throwing my concerts and stuff. And we were lucky enough, somehow, exactly what I imagined. Ryan had this client, and he liked Ryan a lot and wanted to bring him in as a business partner. And Ryan was like, well, I just signed the LLC with Brian. Like, we literally just, 6 months ago took everything to the next level, and we're going to be super serious,
Yeah.
So the only way we make this work is if we bring all 3 of us. And essentially, we didn't approach it as a consultancy, but essentially it's what it became to. But really, and that's why I try and tell people, like, when they say consultancy, they get pushed away. They don't want someone to come help them and do their business. Yeah. But I'm like, there's all different ways where we can work together, and with this other company, we became business partners. And so we all 3 are business partners, and we help run his company. And since we are business partners, we like to take the ownership to bring that quality of service to the next level that he wanted out of a team. And it's real interesting working with him because that's where the personal development clients come from.
Nice. From him?
Yeah. But so we started a whole nother business called Titan Event Technologies.
I've seen that that name around that you've said.
And that is in partnership with him, with our business partner, Richard Miller.
Titan Event. So what is that, the focus on that? A lot of the same, or?
So it's all AV.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother can of worms, though, because so the personal development is a little more of a demanding field, as opposed to like a real dry medical conference.
Yeah.
And there's sales involved, so like I said, people's energy levels are important to them.
Yeah.
But more services get offered and stuff, so there is talk of doing some meeting planning, coordination, and stuff like that. But right now, we're just strictly AV. A little bit we dabble in the scenic. Sometimes they want some designing. Richard does all that. Ryan and I specialize in AV. I do audio. He does video. He worked with companies doing sales. He knows how to put a quote together.
Nice.
But, I can't... I don't want to say I can't, but as we wear a lot of hats, we've tried to understand that since this business has been going somewhere, that we have to do what we do best, and it's not designing scenic. So luckily, Richard's kind of been taking that bull by the horns. But
awesome.
So anyways, TNPAV, LLC, people were seeing top-notch teas come back on like the PayPal accounts and like, is this the right company? So Top-Notch Tees is no longer. It is now TNPAV, and we have a couple DBAs, which is Top-Notch Productions, and TEP Pros, which is the acronym for Titan Event Technologies.
Gotcha.
But without getting too much into those logistics, we found a way to talking about entrepreneurship and all that. I think it's a really core of it when you look at the way we've been able to make it work with another entity like Richard. He's been in the industry for 20 years. Some of these clients he's had for 10 years and still we were able to form a partnership where everybody's happy and everyone's getting what they need out of it,
Very cool, man.
So that's kind of the history of Top-Notch Productions, though. I was ready to walk away from it, and then I said, Ryan, I'm ready to give it another go. Let's try and bring it to the next level. Yeah. Now that you're freelancing, because he did sales for all these companies, but he can't go take these clients that he just left. So that did cause a problem. We still don't have clients, and that's the most important thing. But at least we have the skill set to wrangle them in if we have them.
Yeah.
Because me talking to these clients is just like, I don't know. I can do good, but the level of clients that we want to deal with, he's much more familiar with the processes.
Yeah, because he would do it with bigger companies.
And he's been training me and getting me hip to it. So I have taken over. When I find a client, he pushes me to be in charge of them from beginning to end.
Oh, cool.
So, I'm a little more hip to the corporate process of the whole thing. But when we both signed our names on that LLC, it really gave the birth to what we're doing now, which is TNPAV in partnership with TEP Pros, with Titan Event Technologies.
Yeah.
But so that's been a lot of the stuff you've been seeing on the social media,
on the Google,
but I don't know if you're on our Instagram. If you're not.
No, I am, and you definitely give off that professional vibe that just oozes from you when you're doing it. You're like, hey, this is Brian from Top-Notch Productions, and you're just walking down the hallway, and you got your headset on, looking all legit.
Yeah, the crew jokes at me about that, but I don't know. I try.
It's good.
I try not to be too goofy, but I don't know.
But you have to be yourself, man.
Yeah,
That's it. So you have to be. If you're goofy and I'm fucking a goofball, man, you just own it. You just do it and just keep rolling.
Yeah, true that.
So where do you hope the company could be in, say, 5, 10 years?
Well, I like that question because I feel like people ask, sometimes people ask, do you want to be one of the, so there's a few companies that are like the biggest companies ever, you know, and it's like, do you want to be one of them?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, first of all, if I was a company that big, I probably wouldn't be running it. The staff would just have to be so monstrous.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty cool to build something like that,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, first of all, the goal right now is just to have a sustainable lifestyle, working for myself with a job I enjoy, and being able to spend time with the family, right?
That's anything anybody could ever ask for.
Sure, and a lot of times in our industry, the techs, it's in Arizona, it's seasonal driven, and then a lot of them start traveling though. So next thing you know, they're just working all the time, all the time.
You did some of that, right?
Yeah.
Who'd you do sound for? Like some of the big acts?
Well, I mean, even for these corporate companies, they go do a medical conference in Florida. You know?
You were just there, 3 months ago?
Yeah. Well, so to rewind a little bit.
Jumping around.
Yeah. So my traveling history, we travel with Clandestine. And then for my Down by Law days, I made friends with Cutthroat Freak Show with Jeremy Kinson. And he posted one day, hey, anybody want to drive us around the country? And I can't remember. I think he said, I'm not going to tell you who it's for.
Oh, huh.
And I was at a point where I think the Clandestine, we had just left that band, and I wanted to do something. And since corporate was seasonal, I was off in the summer.
Yeah.
And actually, Hollywood Alley was, I think, closing. So I actually went on tour like a month or two after Hollywood Alley closed. So unfortunately, they closed, but it actually was like a perfect moment for this to happen. But I had bought a video camera and I wanted to make a documentary. I ended up not filming anything, but I was tasked with driving the Cutthroat Freak Show around the country on the Funny or Die Dave Chappelle tour.
Oh shit!
So it was really fun. But I made a bunch of friends, sword swallowers, and flame artists.
Wait, what year was this? 13?
Somewhere around there.
So when they played outdoors, what is that? Cricket Pavilion, was it?
Yep.
You were there doing sound that night?
I drove the freak show around. So I wasn't doing sound. I slept in a van.
Yeah.
And small motels around the country.
Dude, I was at that show. Chappelle and the Flight of the Conchords and Jeff Ross. And all
we
that.
hung out with all of them. Jeff Ross was inviting us to all sorts of little private parties after the concerts. We went to the House of Blues, so a little interesting backstory.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are in fancy tour buses, and we had that opportunity. But the freak show, they spend a lot of the time traveling, performing all the time, at places. So Jeremy has spent a good part of his life developing this network of connections to go play at. So to him, and they're going to laugh at me later, but I'm just putting it together now. An analogy that was told recently was, like I smoked a turkey not too long ago, and usually we make broth out of it.
Okay.
Well, we didn't make the broth. We got lazy, and I threw it away, and garbage day was too far away, and next thing you know, I had maggots crawling out of my trash can. And in business, they say you need to get everything out of the animal. And just like cultures, native cultures of the past or whatever, you skin the animal, you do whatever you can with it.
Yeah.
You make the broth, all of that. And you see opportunity where people are missing it. Mm-hmm. And so Jeremy wanted, instead of paying me this amount, how about you pay me more and I can rent a van and I'll drive myself. And so with that, we hit up all these other places along the tour, Funny or Die.
Yeah.
Like all these people are just playing these big stadiums. And meanwhile, we're building all these stories, traveling, sleeping on people's couches, and just, it was awesome. But we played all these different venues and got a whole nother level out of the experience than other people did. But so all in all, we showered less.
Yeah.
And here we are at the House of Blues at the private secret floor. They looked at us, didn't let us in at first. And we're like, hey, Jeff Ross invited us.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we're in there dancing next to Dave Chappelle and some people from Wu-Tang. I wish I could remember from who was there from Wu-Tang, but I can't. But yeah, and the dudes from Flight of the Conchords were there. They loved the Freak Show.
Yeah.
Everything our crew was doing, they were all about it.
So what did the Freak Show consist of?
So there were a few core members. Like I said, Jeremy is kind of the front runner for Cutthroat Freak Show. And then he has friends, and he's developed like a troupe. Mm-hmm. But as we would travel around, so before the comedy show would open up, there were grounds outside of it, and there would be different vendors. So there were some big sponsors on that tour, like Airheads and stuff, and they would have booths set up. And so we essentially had a booth. And I think the festival designed it, but we had like a whole carnival setup looking thing.
Oh, shit.
And they would sit in the booth, and it was open on one side with kind of a barrier where people can't cross unless we join them. And there were fake cannons made and all this stuff. But so there were some core members, and as we traveled, some of the other members would actually change in and out because he had all these connections with people. As we traveled through different states, we would have different performers in the different states.
Okay.
So it was actually kind of cool. But each person specializes in something different. Jeremy specialized in eyelid weightlifting.
Holy shit.
So we'd have these hooks he made himself with chains that would hang from his eyelids.
Oh.
And he would, try to find like a lady with a heavy purse because, people always talk about how heavy the lady's purse is, and he would lift it with his eyelids.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. And
his medical coverage has got to be eye-opening? No, what's the word I'm looking for?
He was one of the few people at the time to have his eyeball tattooed. Oh,
shit.
So he had like a black eyeball.
What?
Yeah. And,
how does that affect his vision?
I'm pretty sure not at all.
Interesting. And
what was also something I'd like to throw out about him that I found interesting was he had a cutthroat. So Cutthroat's the name, and he had like a line like cut here across his throat and had scissors. Yeah. And that tattoo actually appeared on GTA 5.
Oh, as something that you could get?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there was I don't have any physical evidence just talking to you right now, but I'm pretty sure there was some connection, and he never got any shout outs for that. But it was kind of interesting though.
That's very interesting.
But and then the way he got on the Funny or Die tour was he was doing pyrotechnics at like a Rob Zombie concert.
Yeah.
Something like that. And or he was doing pyrotechnics somewhere, and I don't know, but it was just, again, finding opportunity where people don't,
Yeah.
And then executing, I have this person's contact, but I'm going to wait for a good time to call them, Again, give me the name, give me the picture of the logo, and I'm going to run with it, Like Sage Francis, I'm going to misquote it right now, but he had this rhyme. It was like, I've done more with 1/5 of the stuff y'all. I've made more progress with 1/5 of the something like all I need is 1/5 of what you have, and I can do more with it than what you've been doing with it.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's just kind of a side note. But anyways, my buddy, the other guy I became friends with, he would swallow a sword. You take his shirt off, swallow a sword, do the worm over broken glass.
With the sword in his mouth?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And then he would run to someone in the crowd and have them pull it out.
Oh, I gotta watch video. Of
Eric Auditorium. I think he
Eric Auditorium.
Yeah, you can find him on Facebook and all that. And I think he
Oh my god!
I think he performs in Louisiana downtown. But so when I first landed, I had to fly to Texas to go on tour with them, and we stayed at his house the first night or two. The first 3 dates were out of Texas.
Yeah.
And as soon as I walk into his apartment, they're like, "Brian's never pulled a sword. Brian's never pulled a sword. Make him pull a sword." And I hadn't even been there for 5 minutes, and they made me pull a sword out of him. Yeah.
Holy shit, dude! How bad were you freaking out?
It was a little nervous at first, but it was like whatever. And
this guy's a professional.
I was more worried about hurting him, more than
course.
anything. And I tell you what, though, you can like feel the sword like slurp out, like. Yeah, it was crazy, but it was cool. I made good buddies with him, and one not cool story, but there's our other buddy, Drew. I think he would blindfold himself and light a cigarette with an axe and an angle grinder.
Oh shit!
And we had these cool lanyards, and we thought it was so cool to be on the Chappelle tour.
Yeah, of course.
And everyone wore their lanyards all the time. And then one day, the lanyard got stuck in the angle grinder, and it just went right up his face. Ooh. And I feel like I'm their driver, and I feel like I'm their handler too. And also too, I was like, man, I'm going to show them I'm more than a driver. I do AV. Yeah. They didn't have a lot of AV, but I do event setup, which isn't just audio. I set up all scenic too, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, and they actually were very appreciative, and that I would help set up, because they didn't expect that, But I always inside myself, wanted to take it to the next level. I like doing events. I want to help them woo this client and all that, And Drew, boom, there goes the angle grinder up his face, and he just goes running. And I'm like, they got to perform, so I got to chase after the guy. And it was like chasing a dog that just got hit by a car, but just hurt its leg a little bit and is scared and just taking off. Like, he was jumping railings. I'm just following this trail of blood.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. But
he turned out to be okay?
He was okay, yeah. He was okay.
Oh, fuck, that's crazy, dude.
Bob wants to walk through. He's trying to leave.
Yeah. Get Bob in here.
So anyways, that was a pretty eventful story, that in itself. And plus we're like in I don't know, North Carolina or South Carolina. So they're like, you got to drive to another state to go to the hospital. And I'm just like, oh my God. But it was like 10 minutes away. I was like, oh, well, that wasn't bad, but it was just, it was a learning experience altogether,
Yeah. Well, everything would be, especially, I figure everything would be a first experience, not only just a learning experience when you're traveling around with a group of people that call themselves the Freak Show. Yeah. That's there's no short of.
And I've never driven around the country, and they have deadlines, and I have a job to come home to, because luckily my job is seasonal and I'm a private contractor. So even if I quit my job, it's still available for me. Some of these people quit their job to go on this tour because it was a big opportunity, So I'm like, I got to get them from point A to point B, like I just have to. And I'm the only driver, and I get tired and fall asleep. So I'm just like, screw it, pulling over at the gas stations, sleep for 30 minutes. And they're like, I thought I was maybe letting them down when I would do that. And they're like, oh man, that's so awesome. You did that. Like, you're so professional. And, I'm like, okay, cool.
Come through, Bob. I'm going to hit the head real quick.
Okay. All right.
Feel good?
Feel good.
Yeah, a little wardrobe change.
Yeah.
Fresh water.
Yep.
I have relieved myself.
It's hot in here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right, man. You guys are in an industrial plaza here. Lots of businesses in this little area.
Yeah,
right
this
here,
is
man.
a popular one. There used to be a bar that was here for a long time, and unfortunately, by the time we moved in, it was gone.
The Monkey? No.
I don't know the name of it. Ryan would know.
I'm trying to remember Yeah, I do remember it being like right just to the west of us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So were you on that Funny or Die tour? Were you in Connecticut when Dave got all that
yes,
hate?
I have a T-shirt. I have a T-shirt from it. They gave us all T-shirts that say, was it Connecticut?
I think it was, or New Hampshire,
It's
Vermont.
It says fuck, and then whatever state it was. I feel like it was. I can't think of it right now.
I felt like it was Hartford.
Connecticut. It could have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a shirt from it that says fuck Connecticut or whatever it was. Fuck Hartford.
Yeah. So what can you tell me about that night?
Well, I could tell you we almost felt our dreams shattered.
Yeah.
It was only like.
It was it's the second show or something, wasn't
Well,
it?
like I said, the first 3 shows were in Texas.
Okay, that's right.
So I feel like it was the 4th show. It was like our first show finally leaving the state. And dude, Texas was hot. I mean, my computer battery exploded.
Oh, fuck.
And I mean, Arizona's hot, but the humidity, it was just
it cooks you.
it was an extra level. The laptop did not like it.
Yeah.
And it was just it was humid, and I was just ready to get out of Texas.
Yeah.
And as soon as we did, the weather changed. It was so beautiful. And that first show, we're like sitting in the van, and we're talking about, oh man, that was such a great show, and we got to leave early to make sure we get to the next spot. Oh, and some side note real quick, when Drew sliced his face, the staff, they let us, hey, you guys don't have to perform the next morning. You can come in and just relax. Don't worry. Dude, we were there before they were.
Oh, yeah.
I got them there, and when we get to the venue early, we could take showers too before the headliners are there.
Okay.
So I got us there early. I'm taking a nap. I'm taking a shower. Headliners show up. We're out of there, and they couldn't believe we were there. It was like, man, we're here to do it.
Hell yeah.
That's what I like about Jeremy. He's he does what he's there to do, and make sure he does it well and doesn't skimp out. But anyways, sorry, what was your question?
You said your dreams were just about shattered.
Oh yeah, we're sitting in the van, and I think we got a phone call or something, and so we missed it.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I missed a lot of Chappelle's performances.
Yeah.
I did get to see enough though to see his whole performance, But it does change from venue to venue, from night to night,
For sure.
But we got the phone call when we were just about to leave that we didn't know if there was going to be a next show.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and we're like, what? Are you kidding me? And I think it wasn't until we got there, and the thing about it was between that show and the next show there was a large gap.
Okay.
Because I think we were hitting the East Coast after we were going to New York next or something. Every once in a while, when the distance is sizable, there's like 2 days in between shows or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it made it a little more nerve-wracking for us, because we're like, all right, well, we're going to the next show. We're going to perform one of Jeremy's side shows. Mm-hmm. And just hope that this tour continues, But so it was stressful for us. But, I feel for him, though, as a performer, because, I mean, he has a family, and he's tearing himself out of that.
Yeah.
And he's going out there and dealing with stuff he doesn't really want to deal with, talking about Chappelle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was pretty cool, though. Luckily, they stuck to it, and they made some light out of it.
Yeah.
And we all got those Fuck Hartford shirts.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah, Fuck Hartford. And we all took a group picture with Chappelle, the whole staff and everybody.
Yeah, that was a great show, man. Femster, is that her name? Femster something, female comic, Jeff Ross.
Was she the one at the Phoenix one?
Yeah.
I feel so bad about that.
What do you mean?
So I probably shouldn't even tell this story.
Well, then that means let's turn up the mic a little bit. This is nice and loud.
So, I mean, I'm the driver, so I gotta. They trust on me to be sober.
Yeah.
So by the time it was the Phoenix show, it was my turn to have a little bit of fun. So I'm having some drinks and stuff, and my buddy Gilbert's there, and I'm like, "Oh, meet Jeff Ross, man.
Yeah.
This has been my buddy." And then Jeff Ross introduces me to her. At the same time, he's introducing her to him and my friend.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a mutual exchange going here. And I was like, "Oh, what up, man? Nice to meet you." Is she the curly haired? Yeah. Oh my God. So I accidentally called her a dude.
Yeah.
And Jeff Ross looked at me very weird and like, you know, a little upset.
Yeah.
And there were basically no more words exchanged, and we set ways, and that was my last exchange with Jeff Ross.
Oh no.
But and then we go to watch the show, and she hits the stage, and Gilbert and I look at each other, and we're like, "Oh my God, that's her!" And then like a couple of her opening line was, "People often confuse me as a guy." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, dude."
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's a stocky lady, man.
Jeff Ross was cool. I wanted to keep it cool with him. You know, he really held it down for us out there. You know, because a lot of people, especially when you're traveling on something like that, it was rules that we weren't allowed in the back area, dressing rooms and hallways where all the big stars were. So we didn't get to interact with them as much as we liked. So we didn't learn that Flight of the Conchords really liked what we were doing until the Phoenix show.
Yeah.
So then we actually did a little private show for them in the private VIP bar area where only the talent was allowed.
Okay.
But from the beginning, Jeff Ross was like, he took us into one of the dressing rooms.
Yeah.
And then the staff actually complained, and so we almost got in trouble. And me and the other guy were like, "Well, Jeff Ross took us back there." And like, "Yeah, but the paper says you're not allowed back there." And, "Okay, sorry, we won't do it again." But, you know, so then he invited us to the House of Blues party, you know, and like he just always on the first night, actually, it was Marlon Wayans' birthday.
Okay.
And we almost got to go in to the birthday party that they were having for him. And he was super nice too. He saw us walking the hallway, you know, like he was just like excited that he was at this event, and then there was a party for him and behind the scenes, you know.
Yeah.
But one of the guys had one of the freak shows had a, you know, we visit, I said, you know, friends as we travel, and one of the kids, he was just he was young and looked questionable, I guess. So we call him gutter punk or whatever. He was a punk rock dude, and he was just real young. And really, I think what did it is, since he was so young, he just didn't have that confidence. You know, when you're looking down and stuff, you just look shady, you know.
Yeah.
And we were walking in. He was in front of me. When they got to him, they denied us. And so I didn't get to go into the party. And the main guys got to go in for a little bit, and then they left.
But Jeff Ross held it down.
But, you know, yes, sorry. Yeah, but Jeff Ross held it down, and those opportunities were cool, and I really appreciate them, and they wouldn't have happened if it weren't for him, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my Jeff Ross story.
I feel like you were also on the sound team for the Cottonmouth Kings. Is that a thing? Or am I making that up for some reason?
No, it was just a quick thing.
Okay.
I did one show, actually.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I work with Soul Man sometimes, Joe from the Funk Junkies.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep.
And so he was going to go on tour with them and asked if I would do sound. And there was supposed to be a whole tour bus for the talent and then a tour bus for crew. Mm-hmm. And then we were going to go to California a couple days prior to the tour starting and do some rehearsal shows. So time gets closer, and for whatever, I don't know if some sponsors dropped out or what it was, but the budget got severely reduced. Ooh. So they only had one tour bus. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if maybe there was no budget from Joe, so Soul Man was stepping away from it, but said if I wanted to, here was their manager's contact, and I could reach out to them and still jump on if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Which, sorry, side note, when I teamed up with Ryan on the LLC, I started to think of him in a way as like a manager, like an AV manager for me. Like, what gigs are worth my time and taking on, you know? And that's what I like about where we're at, though, is taking, you know, work that's worth our time. And when Joe stepped away from the Cottonmouth King tour, is like, well, just so you know, when I'm stepping away, you are no longer dealing with me. You'll have to deal with them direct. And we say that because Joe runs a production company. So he and I've worked for him for a while, so he knows what I'm looking for, you know, in this work experience, if you'll call it, you know. And with that, he's basically also saying there's going to be no rehearsals.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, whatever. It's rock and roll. I've done it before. Their old sound guy, actually, JJ, I work for him. He runs Talking Stick.
Okay.
And I'll occasionally work for him. And I had just started working for him and his family at the time, so I didn't know him a lot. But so I was like, screw it, I'm going to do it. And we went, and it was cool. We picked up merch and picked up the band. And the first show, I can't really quite remember, but I had to set up a bunch of equipment of our own, and I had to I provided the audio console. It's a digital console, so I had to bring the Cat 5 snake, which we only had one. I brought a repair kit, but I mean, if that thing breaks, I'm kind of screwed, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to figure out ways to get it over the door, and having to wire the whole band all by myself.
Shit.
And next thing you know, the first couple openers didn't get to perform. And then they have a very specific rack, and I was told they knew how to work it, but when I got there, they didn't. So it takes me a learning curve. I got to figure out what's going on inside of this thing.
No
you know?
shit. Yeah.
I mean, and also I'm on like no sleep. I haven't been fed. The venue's not feeding us. There's some sandwich meat in the tour bus, but I'm a little cranky right now, so I didn't want the sandwich meat, you know. At this, I just want a smooth show at this point, you know. I don't even want to waste my time eating, you know, if they're not going to, like, you know, I don't know, something a little bit easier, something I don't have to make. I'm just moving, you know.
Yeah.
And so I finally get it working and stuff, and the show goes good, it goes great, but like I said, couple of the opening acts didn't get to perform, but show went good. The manager was happy with me, but the band, the other thing too was they were supposed to have a huge video budget, and there's supposed to be a huge video wall, and this was their reunion tour.
Yeah.
And so they had no visual, and just after that first show, I think they realized that this wasn't like the reunion tour. There should have been a rehearsal. There should be a video wall. There should be 2 tour buses, you know. So they kind of, they canceled the tour after that. The head PE, though, was on the tour, and they kept going with the rest of the bands.
Ah, okay.
And they actually offered if I wanted to run sound for head PE, too, but I was like, dude, that's going to be my 30-minute, 40-minute break, man. You guys are just throwing that on me. You know how it is when you're an engineer. It's easy to get taken advantage of, and I would love to run sound for them, but it was just
in that moment.
Man, there was a lot going on, and but yeah, so I got to run sound for Cottonmouth Kings for one show. It went great. Everyone was happy, but like I said, it wasn't reunion tour material. You know, it'd been a while since they performed. Yeah, and they're famous for having all the trees, all the visual effects. You know, they bring out you know, a whole bunch of stage props. You know, so fortunately, when that budget got cropped, the tour kind of got cropped too.
Yeah, it would make sense. I mean, you know, they weren't coming correct, I guess.
Yeah,
one way you could say it. So they would almost be doing their fans a disservice, I guess.
Yeah.
By not providing. Not the best show, but you always want to provide the best show. But even then, it seems like they were just going to be super lacking. Mm-hmm. So, and where was the show at? In California?
Yeah, that show we did in what is it? Starts with a B.
B.
I keep wanting to say Brownsville, but that's Texas.
I don't know.
I'll look it up. But yeah, so it was cool though. Made good friends with their manager, and the tour bus driver was a real interesting guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Been around, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
With his own freak shows.
Yeah, he had some crazy stories, that guy.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I had listened to them when I was younger, so I was really excited to do it. But you know, I should have seen the signs as soon as Joe got nixed. You know.
He dipped.
Yeah, but so you know, those rehearsals are important
For sure, man.
And even after that first show, I was like, all right, I know what's going on now. You know? But oh man. But if it was anyone else, though, they probably would have. I don't know. Not if it was anyone else who was new. Like I said, JJ's done their sound forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I was just like, if it was anyone else, I don't even know if that first show would have gone on. But so yeah, that was my Cottonmouth King story.
Any other like national acts that you've done sound for, like either on tour? I'm sure you've done them because you did sound here, in local venues. So obviously when they're traveling through, if they went to your bar, but anybody else that you kind of traveled with?
No, not much more of that. The thing with rock and roll, see, when I did the Cottonmouth Kings, the other thing too is that I wanted my name was less known in the rock and roll field, so I wanted to get my name out there as far as like the major traveling stuff. But I hate to say it, but I've always heard that there's just less money in it. Like my buddy's friend was, well, I guess I won't say the artist's name, so they can't pinpoint, but he worked for a famous, musician who you think would be, making real good money, and maybe it's enough, or I don't know, it's kind of a tangent. It doesn't matter, but it just wasn't, for me, it wasn't enough to make a living off of. I can go do the corporate stuff for way less stress and make more, So unfortunately, corporate is where the money is. So when I tend to fall back into rock and roll, it's for our own stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why I always said, like, every once in a while when I first started out in corporate, people were like, hey, I'm trying to get this client. Will you come just work pro bono? And I'm like, man, if I was going to work for free, I'd go throw a concert. I'd go work for G. Owens, and we would throw a concert with a bunch of our buddies, and we would print T-shirts, and we would put up the effort into it, and it would be for ourselves. Yeah. So when I end up falling into rock and roll because of the money, it ends up just being for our own thing. So I end up not working with too many big acts on a traveling level.
Yeah.
But I got some friends. My buddy Roger Pugh, he's a lighting guy, and this other guy Jimmy, he's a sound guy. But they're doing a lot of. I always see him posting on Facebook, doing a lot of big band concert setups and stuff like that, which look pretty cool. And I'd love to fall into it, but now that we have the family, it makes it a little.
Yeah, you got to be a lot more picky.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just pick up and go drive around the freak show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's even my uncle told me that, those exact words. But my Nino.
Yeah, tu Nino.
But so I do still travel for our corporate stuff. A lot of our gigs are out of town.
Yeah.
So I still get that travel aspect.
But it's well compensated.
Yeah.
Because of the events.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then A, it's corporate, and B, it's medical, and there's tons of money in that field.
Well, yeah. Again, a lot of our stuff is personal development for the travel stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
The local stuff when I'm working for the labor pools will be like the medical conventions and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to snag a medical national client, but we're working on that. That's why we need to get that Instagram out there.
Get it up. Yeah, you've been really hot on it. I haven't been following you that long on there because I haven't had Instagram for that long anyways. Like I just got it just when I started this podcast. That's when I started my Instagram. And then for the longest time, I didn't even know what your audio company was called. Like I was just like,
I was thinking about that. It really does put it in context. Like I found you on Instagram. I followed you, and I ended up following a bunch of people. And I was like, I've known all these people for years. And me and Juan worked together in a way a lot, and he's going to see it in a way he's never seen it before when he
For sure
sees the Instagram,
Yep. Yeah. So it looks really good, man, on my end. So, keep it up, man.
Cool. Thank you.
And like we were talking earlier too, is like, I like, all the motivational stuff, because that's where I'm at in my life too. It's like, yo, let's pump everybody up, man. Yeah, you can get salty and you can get down in the dump every now and then, but it's like, somebody's gonna be reached by that motivational speak, and whether they find it cheesy or find something in it, like, it's gonna be helping somebody, one person.
Yep.
So
that's kind of it's actually, the motivational stuff is kind of new for us in the whole thing, which is kind of an interesting story. But I don't know if we want to go too far into that, but the whole entrepreneur thing, and where we're at in our lives, or you've said that a few times, those words, I don't know if it's just the age we're at, but it just seems like a natural progression. Because, a lot of it I'm kind of like, is it corny and da-da-da-da-da. And even with AV, for instance, I don't really have a whole bunch of content I can post.
Yeah.
A lot of our clients are not only, so personal development and marketing. And so we hear a lot of marketing tips, and like I said, when you're a private contractor, you have no ladder. You have to create your own ladder. Mm-hmm. So this company kind of my way of creating our own ladder, and like I said, and not just specializing in audio or whatever that field is you choose that helps you feel like there's a presence of a ladder and maybe you're evolving in this field. But I still began to feel stagnant even with just in audio. And the other problem is these companies get bought out and their contracts with these different labor pools shift, and all the power shift, and new teams come in, and the job I did for 10 years, I'm no longer getting a call for.
Yeah.
Or now that I've audio engineered more, they don't call me for as many of the setup and strikes because they think I want more. But I just want work,
Yeah.
When it's a higher paying gig, great. But I don't want to be harsh about it, but I almost want to say there's kind of been no loyalty in our industry.
Yeah.
And so we kind of had to take the reins for ourselves. And now a lot of people, when they start their own business in this field, for whatever reason, they burn their bridges with all the old clients, labor pools, to be more specific. But we've been able to sustain a relationship with all of them.
That's awesome. And
even as I do labor, I give back to the labor companies too. Every once in a while, so one of our main labor companies, they lost clients because of all these buyouts. And so all my friends, we all had less work. So I'm like, well, what do? We got to go find these clients ourselves. And, but eventually her clients come back, because I says it's seasonal. And then I'm using a couple of her guys or my friends, mm-hmm. But it's like, what? Well, I've actually developed something now. So if you need some people here, take them. And now a lot of people who start a labor company, they'll charge her, well, you'll get them from me for da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, here's their number direct. Take them. I don't even care. I've worked for you for 10 years.
Yeah.
You're the first company I've ever worked for. I don't even care. Just all I care about, honestly, is giving my guys work.
Yeah.
Because I don't have enough work to keep them busy all year. But if I can get them in with the labor pools, then they can have a sustainable life and they're happy. And I always think it's weird where people just want control over it. I want you to work for me only. Like I said, I've never liked working for people. And so I've always been open to helping people with that same achievement or whatever. I don't know.
Like that mentality.
Yeah. But so... So with the shifts of power and everything, we've created our own ladder, and we still get to work for those people, but we've got our own clients, and we didn't steal them from any of our old clients. And every once in a while, we're able to bring them in. Every once in a while, we need labor or we need equipment, and we're able to bring in all these old people we worked for, and they've actually developed into very good resources and relationships. One of my favorite clients, he's also like a partner. He's not a partnership level with like Richard Miller, where we like started another company and everything, but we what did you call it? We sub-rent out our events to him a lot of times. If we got 2 events at the same time, where Eric, here you go, put on our t-shirts, go knock it out, you know?
Yeah.
And we rent gear from him. We put money in his pocket, you know? We help him out, and he helps us put money in our pocket, you know? And
the two-way street, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
everything.
So, I'm sorry, I forgot what the question was to end the thought. But
You're talking about creating your own ladder and
yeah, I forgot where that was
motivational and stuff.
Oh, so all the motivation, you know. So it gets harder to create your own ladder. When I became an audio engineer, I thought, all right, created my ladder, but then I'm at the top, and like I said, all of a sudden a new company comes in and the contract's gone, and all of a sudden I'm sitting at home looking at Facebook and looking at these newbies working at properties I was working at.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, what's next, you know? So I like our ladder because we're still connected with our own clients. We didn't burn any bridges, but we're still progressing with this. And actually Bob, so that company that I called over Thanksgiving and they didn't know me, and I was like, hey, will you hire me? I'm just a guy that knows a person even though I really don't know them.
Yeah.
Well, Bob is like her best friend. She's a widow, but Bob was friends with her husband, and so he was like their employee kind of. So I met Bob, was like the first person I met going into corporate AV. Okay. I actually met him on gig number 2. But he was like in charge of us and stuff. And so Bob is a veteran in the industry, first person I kind of ever worked with, you know. And now he's he's not an employee yet, but he's kind of he's a big part of what we got going on. Yeah. Legally, he's not an employee. He's still a 1099, but that's just semantics, right?
Yeah, of course.
But you know, he's an asset to the team, and he's one of those people that when there's no loyalty in this industry, he was working at those places before I was, and now all these young kids are in there. Well, Bob went back to Maine and was mowing grass on a golf course. Yeah. And so I dragged him back out here to help us do this and give it a go, you know. So you asked, actually, where would the company like to be in 5 years? Mm-hmm. You asked that like probably 2 hours ago. And I'm just barely getting to my point.
Drum roll, people.
But so what's important to me really is, and what reinforced it too, is one of our clients, Tony Hawk, spoke. And he talked about he had a business partner, and eventually he bought his business partner out. And the big thing is that his business partner was more about the numbers, and he was more about the culture and making some business people can survive off of and be happy doing. And it was a good eye opener for Ryan and I, because he works a lot with the numbers, and I work with the labor. So I'm all about trying to help people out, and Ryan's all about making sure our ship doesn't sink because we're being wasteful with too much labor.
It's a good balance.
And labor is the most expensive thing we have, the biggest expense we have as a company. Yeah. But to me, the most important thing is just working with our friends. And I always like to compare it to Life Aquatic. I don't know if you ever seen that movie.
Yeah, with
Bill Murray.
Murray, yeah.
And like he tries to get Owen Wilson to join their team, and he's like, I don't know, man, I'm an airplane pilot. He's like, Darsky was a school bus driver, you know, they're just a pack of misfits or whatever, friends, and then found this way where they can survive and make a living and have fun doing it, you know. And that's what my ultimate goal is I don't really want to be the Freeman AVs or whatever. It would be, sure, it's nice, and I think that company is still owned by one guy, and I hear good things about how the way he tries to run it, but I mean, that's a monstrous company, you know, and I just still want it to be grassroots. It's cool to have a legacy, and I wouldn't mind that, but my goal first and foremost is just to have something that we can work with our friends and make a living off of for the rest of the years to come, you know. And I don't mind being at mid-level. I mean, right now we average about a show a week. I'm sorry, that's way more. A show a month.
Okay.
Sometimes there's 2 shows in a month and no shows in a month, so that's why I say an average of 1 show a month.
Yeah.
But you know, 1 show is about a week's worth of work. So it would be nice to just increase that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, but I think, you know, 2 shows a month we talked about is perfect to hold a sustainable family balance and make a living.
Yeah.
And of course, when it gets seasonal, we can be crazy and work every day like we do. Like October is a busy month. You know, we spend every day working, you know, and we don't get overtime after 30 hours in a week, but we get overtime after 10 hours in a day. And so, you know, it does start to wear you down if you shoot for those overtime hours, but it can still be beneficial, you know,
for spurts at a time.
Yeah. Like for instance, I was relaxing December, chilling. First 2 weeks of January go by, and I'm still on my couch playing video games, and I'm seeing on Facebook people are working. I'm like, what the hell, you know? This is kind of nice hanging out, but no, I can't be missing, you know, the wave like this. What's going on? So I start texting the labor company, hey, I'm here. Why isn't anybody calling me? Yeah. Next thing you know, man, I'm out there, and people have been working their butts off for 2 weeks, and I'm there, and it's like, you know, 11 o'clock at night, and they're like, you know, who wants to work until 5 a.m.? And everyone's like, oh, man, I'm so tired. And at that point, I think I went into double time, and I've never done that before. Ooh. And I was like, I'll do it. I've been sitting on my couch for 2 weeks. I'll work until 5. So I worked from like 2 in the afternoon to who knows what time, you know, and pulled in all those overtime hours. But that's the interesting thing about this industry, you know. But so even though right now I'm trying to find a balance in life between home and work and entrepreneur, and even though this business has been around for a long time, we still consider it only 2 years. Since we joined up with Richard. And so just trying to find a balance, you know, and even though I'm getting closer to that, it'll still all get thrown out the window when season hits, you know. Of course. It's like, you know, we need to pay those credit cards off and, you know, all that. But, you know, I do find it. So we ended up hiring a social media guy, which is still interesting. It still falls in the entrepreneur realm. He was an AV guy that I met from working at the hotels, and he quit, and then him and his wife started an at-home daycare. And then he was trying to start more businesses so he could work out of home, and he started marketing. And then I hired him. I was trying to hire him from marketing previously, I think, and he wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't clicking. We weren't clicking right. And then so I hired him to do a strike. I knew he would see things in a different light and have some ideas. And then all of a sudden I was the A2. I was sitting at my little desk behind the stage, you know, with my microphones, getting ready to put them on people. And he was over at my desk, and he's like, oh man, whoa. And he saw our clientele being the self-development and real estate, and he had more an idea of our demographic. And so he got fired up. And so we hired him on to be our social media guy. Nice. Which, again, is a whole nother monster, man. You know. Yeah. It's hard enough being an audio guy. You know, I got to stay up with the technology. Yep. There was a point when the X32 came out, I lost my job almost. There's these older guys who could afford one, and they would buy it, and all of a sudden the sound guy comes with his own digital console. We don't have to rent it from a rental house. And because, you know, before the digital consoles were really expensive, so it would cost them a lot. So all of a sudden this guy has his own. Boom. Brian's just a audio setup guy now, you know. I was like, God damn it. So I bought an X32 and still didn't have I didn't get to use it for like 2 years. I had no one who would rent it off of me, you know.
Yeah.
But it's still back there and we still use it to this day, you know.
Dope.
We got to stay up with the times, you know. So the technology, and then of course being a dad and a husband, and then so being the family, and then you got to find time to research, you know. And then now we got to run a business, and then now I have to learn accounting to a whole nother degree.
For sure.
I do have some background from my previous ventures, but still it's a monster that has to be wrangled, you know.
Yeah.
And then insurance is coming up, and workman's comp.
All of that. Well, yeah, because you guys lift heavy gear, man, all the time.
Oh, man. And so I have to learn about these things while at the same time they're like, you know, you should be doing marketing, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, I'll hire a guy. And then it's like, well, that's not good enough. You got to pay attention to your marketing. And I mean, I like our marketing guy. Like I said, he came from our field. He's an entrepreneur. And but he knows we're starting out, he's starting out, and we'd rather invest in each other.
Yeah. As
opposed to, I can't go hire, I don't know, whoever Coca-Cola's marketing company is, you know what I mean? So I really, in my mind, had no budget for marketing. So the fact that we have even made this work is like a blessing, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, but even with hiring someone, it still pulls us into it and having to be involved in helping make content, you know. And being an AV company, we don't have a product we can sell. And I'm reminded of creating the ladder for ourselves, because even as an AV company, it's a very competitive industry. Like I said, there's no loyalty, but when there is loyalty, it's forever. So when a big client finds a good company, just forget about it, you know?
Yeah.
So you got to find what fish are available. You got to find the clients that are either starting out or having horrible experiences with their current team. And it's just kind of tricky, you know, and marketing is expensive.
Yeah.
So we have to be somewhat active in marketing, even if we're not dumping money into it. I don't know if we're spinning our wheels or if it's pointless, but we got to be.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, we got to do something though, you know. And so, the whole Instagram thing has kind of played into that, and it's kind of between the marketing and the fact that I think about how we don't have a product where we can sell. So like we listen to a lot of these masterminds and stuff, and these people all have products, and I guess the whole technique on how they generate money is dependent on products and monthly services.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, how can I use this knowledge to work for us in any way? Because we don't have a product, you know, and we have a service that we provide. And just the way we obtain our clients through word of mouth is just like a whole different animal. You know, we develop a personal relationship with our clients. The one we just got back from LA, I can't even describe how awesome it was, the relationship that had occurred between us and the event and everything. Yeah. That's a whole nother side story. But yeah, so marketing's been really weird for me, you know, and I have done telemarketing for my first job, so I don't like being very salesy culture.
Yeah.
But
it's tough because you have to sell yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to sell your service. So it's like you're like, well, we don't really have a product to sell, but your product is making somebody else's product that much better.
Yeah.
So you're elevating their product. So that's what you do.
Yep. So kind of the way that I've come up with it. And actually the marketing guy, it kind of happened at the same time, I guess, but he started when we didn't have photos, when there was downtime, he started posting the motivational quotes.
Okay.
And I was like, that works. It really works to the entrepreneur side of things. A lot of our clients appeal to the entrepreneur side of things. That's how they get a lot of their demographic. And I was like, well, we don't have a service to sell, but we still have a story to tell.
Yeah. And
it is very rooted in the self-development or the quotes and all that stuff, So, and I don't want to be jumping on the bandwagon and stuff like that, but I just said, you know what, it is a part of us. We are entrepreneurs, and so I have no shame, and I think that we should tell our story, because our Instagram needs to connect to other people than just AV people.
Yeah.
And that's what, to me, Instagram's for too. I mean, we come from the generation when these things just started popping out, like the Facebook thing. I think it's crazy how, it's bought by Fox News, and Twitter is like a credible news source now. I mean, for me, it all started with MySpace and being a rebellion, and my cousins threw concerts in California, and MySpace was where I first heard of it, was big in California. And he was telling me that they would use it for party crews. So that's how people would just coordinate the party for the weekend.
Yeah.
And so then it became into artists sharing music, and I got to message Atmosphere and buy beats off of these people, and it became something that was a little more organic, or I in my mind, instead of just something that's more about vanity. And I don't want to use the word vanity, but Facebook came around, and to me, it was for the baby boomers. It was for parents to connect with the changing technology, with like their children have done, and still be connected with it, and hope that somehow, because even though parents were on Facebook first, the kids still weren't. They're still on MySpace. And so there was a time where it was still two very different demographics on the two platforms. And now it's kind of merged into MySpace is just gone and everybody's on Facebook. There's really no artisticness happening on Facebook. A little bit now. It's starting to with like the live feeds and stuff like that. But it's still just a communication platform, really, and way for family and friends to stay connected. Yeah. And then a way for us to just be advertised still. I'm just realizing that right now. Like, I get into Netflix, I don't have to watch commercials. I use Facebook, so I don't have to watch commercials. And I realize that Facebook is like all, even posts are commercials.
They are.
But anyways, I just think, again, getting off on a tangent, I just think it's interesting how much Facebook has played into things. Oh, why the hell did I get off on that tangent?
Because Facebook is life, apparently.
Yeah. But I forgot what I was talking about.
Oh, you're talking about MySpace being like, a party. Basically, it was a little bit more organic, you felt, than Facebook was.
Yeah. Oh, so I feel like we have a little more of an understanding of what the social media was, as opposed to like even the kids coming up now are just born with it there, into it. And it's like, well, this is kind of fake. It did start out real and it was cool, and now it's just been exploited into something I don't even know, especially if people always questioned news sources for years. Now that it's on social media, it's just taking a whole new thing.
Well, people don't bother fact checking anything. They see the headline and then they roll with it. That's why clickbait is a thing.
Yeah.
Like, how many times has somebody shared something without actually reading the article?
And I feel like that's part of it too, because it's like, how do you even have time to fact check everything? So they purposely overload us, and then they make it hard for the sources to be credible. But I feel like Instagram still holds a little bit of that organicness, that it was still from the photographer's point of view, and it's just stills of life, Now it is being used more than that now, and hence it's become a primary marketing thing for us. But
Yeah.
again, I feel our marketing is very organic. We're not selling anything. Our Instagram is kind of our main platform, that in LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is made for business, so it's okay, and we're just telling our stories. I'm not trying to get people to buy stuff, although I will say I do have the vision of us doing our own event, our own personal development event in years to come.
Nice.
So we will have a product eventually.
Yeah.
But I also plan on making our product more organic than previous products, if you will. Okay. But that's a whole nother story again. But so the Instagram thing has been cool, and those motivational quotes have kind of opened up our eyes about our entrepreneur story, and we've had no story to tell on social media. So now I'm like, well, that's going to be the story we're going to tell. We're going to tell the entrepreneur. People are like, well, how are we going to make money off of that? I'm like, we're probably not, but it's better than not doing anything, So that we've started to embrace that message, and that is coming out a lot on our Instagram. And John just started putting those quotes out there, and then it started sparking something, and then I started thinking about marketing more. And now it's kind of like, well, we need to put something interesting out there, because every time he puts a quote, I actually cringe a little bit. People are liking it and it's doing good. Yeah. But I just I've been doing my best. So anyways, I cringe a little bit because I want us to make the content. So we started becoming more engaged with it and started embracing it more, and then all of a sudden, you have us, two things. We're going out into nature more.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm taking photos, and we're using those and coming up with our own quotes and using our own photos and our own quotes. Yeah. So we were trying to do that more than just post a quote. But then we started doing these hikes and sharing that story. And so that took, we're more than at first, like I said, embracing the entrepreneur thing, sharing those quotes of motivation. Now we're embracing those, and it's pushed us to go hike and start this new story or a new chapter. And I think it's cool because now we get to post that and kind of connect with that demographic of people who go outdoors. Again, people have nothing to do with AV. Yeah. But I think it's cool to appeal to, and I feel like those people that like to go outdoors, that has to do, it goes one in one with motivation. Mm-hmm. So, why not bring them together? And we're all here. You guys might not care about AV, but we're out there getting motivated and trying to be entrepreneurs or take our life in control.
Some motivation to walk out that door. So it definitely goes hand in hand.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, dude, it's been great talking to you. We need to turn on this AC, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. But it's been a pleasure talking to you and picking at your brain and hearing all the interesting stories that you've had, from the music industry and just, in general, your crazy, just like pick up and go life that you've had. Where could people follow you on the social media accounts?
So the Instagram /TNPAV so that's Top Notch Productions, TNPAV as in audio visual, AZ as in Arizona. So it's kind of a lot to pronunciate and pronounce. Yeah, so maybe you can do a text on your video. Do you post the videos too? Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. It'll be on there. It'll be in the YouTube show notes down there. It'll be on the description. Yeah, I'll have all that on there.
Yeah. So, anyways, TNPAVAZ. Our website is obviously www.tnpav.com.
And then you did Titan too.
There is a Titan Event Technologies website. which is we have a really cool promo video on there that Richard put together.
Oh, nice, man.
We're working on getting some new ones because we got some really good testimonials.
Ooh.
And since we do video production, again, Richard kind of specializes more in the studio stuff.
Yeah.
At our other office, we have a studio for filming and stuff. But we do plan on putting a lot more videos out for advertisement.
Good.
If you will. I want to embrace. We're always making content for other people, and we're going to embrace making content for ourselves. But yeah, so TinyEventTechnologies.com, Facebook, TNPAV, AZ, Tiny Event Technologies is there too. Definitely follow us on Instagram, please, because that's what we're trying to build up the following on.
Yeah.
The Facebook is getting kind of neglected right now.
Well, find them either way, and then how would they book you? Easiest through like your website or?
Yeah, so the website, you can click on a button and it takes you to the email prompt, and you can shoot us an email. But basically, an email is the best way to get a hold of us.
Perfect.
Which is top-notch AV. Well, so Brian at TNPAV.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, folks. You heard it here first.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. This has been this one time today. My guest was Brian Trujillo. And reach out to him for all your audio-visual needs. And thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Bye.